Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple, and this is a show where I rant and rave about board games, but usually more the ranty part. This is a bit of a while since I was last on the air, frankly, because it's been quite a full couple of weeks. I had a local convention to go to on the last weekend of September for Shape Battle and Roll, so that was all gaming. I was out. And then I had to work Monday, and then I went straight to Essen, which is the point of this video, and then I came back from Essen on the Sunday with COVID. Yeah, I caught COVID. I was absolutely exhausted from work at the end of September, and then proceeded to have 8 days on the trot where I was just basically constantly doing something, or doing lots of lots of talking, lots of running around and everything at Essen, which is exhausting in itself. And Essen is essentially a giant petri dish when it comes to people's hygiene and that, not to mention this year was, well, we'll get on to why it was stupidly busy, but yeah, the busiest Essen I've ever been to. So it was not exactly a surprise that I was going to contract something with my immune system shot to hell by then. And it just turned out to be COVID. It's been at least a couple of years, I think, since I had it the first time. This will be the second time. And I'm kind of over it now. I've tested negative, so I've got shot of the actual virus, but I was out of action for a few days. And obviously couldn't do any video content during then. And I've got to play a bunch of games before I can review them. So that's why there's been a bit of a gap. But hopefully this video can come out, and even though I'm not 100% recovered, I figured I still need to do something. I thought like a talky video would be fine, as opposed to a full review, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. So I am sort of 80-90% recovered. You know, the virus has gone out of my system. It's just that the body needs to recover from an energy point of view. It also, my throat needs to recover, so you know, I might have to sort of take a pause every now and again to sort of breathe and take a drink. But otherwise, yeah, I should be able to get back into the swing of things fairly soon. So how was Essen generally? Generally still good fun. I mean, I still enjoy going to Essen. It's still a good fun convention where I get to see people I've not seen for a while. A bunch of us British folk go there, you know, creators, you know, we'll go there and we'll mingle. So Paul Grogan, whose turns anyway, Slicker Drips, Mark Dainty, you know, Mark Monk, you know, there's all sorts of people that do end up there. And it's a good bash all round, but this year was a bit more problematic. You see, it lined up with, I forget if it's called Reunion Day or Unification Day, but it's basically a German bank holiday. I'll put some details up. And this is essentially like, I think it was like celebrating like the Berlin Wall fall. But I don't know. I'll put some wiki link up there so you can do your own research. But the fact is that it was a German bank holiday, which hasn't clashed with Essen before, at least not to my knowledge. And so the Thursday of the convention was bank holiday. So nobody was at work. Most of the shops were shut. Where do you think everybody turned up? And apparently Essen sold out on every day. I don't know if it sold out on Sunday specifically, but it did sell out on the other 3 days for all their tickets. Every single one. Because people basically had the first day off, took Friday off work, because why would you not, and then had an extended weekend to come to Essen. Which meant that in the past, when Saturday was typically the day you avoided, every day was Saturday. And then some. If anything, I think Saturday was slightly quieter than the other two. I don't know how the hell you achieved that. Yeah, it was a little bit problematic.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
To say the least. And it meant it was hard to get anywhere. You couldn't really hear yourself speak. You know, hence immune system shot to hell and catching COVID. You know, that was kind of like just inevitable, really. And it meant that the convention was a lot more exhausting for me than it normally would be. Now, next year, Essen's happening at the end of October, so it shouldn't clash with the bank holiday then. And I'll bet you anything that next year the tickets won't sell out. Because I think it only sold out this year because of that bank holiday. And funny enough, if you read all the press stuff, the PR stuff on Essen, where they talk about, we sold out of Essen, we're very happy, we're very proud, this represents a new stage with the Essen break. And it's like, not once in their material do they mention the bank holiday. Stop kidding yourselves, Essen. You sold out because of the bank holiday. That is the only reason you sold out. Next year, you won't sell out. I'm calling it now. But yes, it would be nice for it to return to some kind of normality, because I think this year it just was too much. I mean, I don't want to go to Gen Con because of how busy it is and how insanely chaotic it is. Essen, I don't want Essen to be like Gen Con. You know, Essen's the busiest convention I go to, and I'd kind of like it to stay that way, but I don't want it to get super busy where each day is just an absolute chore. And I wasn't even demoing this year. I did no demos. I tried to, but I couldn't get anywhere. And next year I'm definitely going to make sure I demo with somebody. But God blimey, it was just a nightmare to move around. I took a suitcase around with me for Thursday because they banned those backpack things. And even then, it was just, even without the suitcase, it was just a nightmare to get from A to B. And a lot of people you had to kind of shove through. So not ideal. Not ideal for things like toilets, not ideal for things like transport or anything. It was just a bit insane. Now next year should improve on that. I'm just hoping this doesn't become a regular thing, because I honestly think the convention, as much as it was fun, I think this is probably one of the worst of the Essens I've been to. And as I say, that's not to say, oh, I didn't enjoy my time, but if I'm going to look back over the last, 7-8 years I've been to Essen, I can think of a couple that are, oh yeah, these are really good years, and one or two that maybe weren't the best years. This is definitely down on the lower front, and the main reason is just because of how stupidly busy it got. So hopefully, just a one-off. That being said, it was still good. The meet and greet event I still went to, that was really good. That was fine. It was nice to see some people actually come up and say hi, so thank you very much if you said hi during the convention, and particularly if you took the time to come to the meet and greet event. But the meet and greet was kind of odd, really. I mean, a bunch of us turned up, all us Brits, and we saw a few other creators that we hadn't seen for a bit. And we kind of just took two. The problem is this is arranged by a third party. So there's no drinks, no water, no coffee, no food, no anything. It's just a big hall, a lot of noise, and basically a couple of tables. And so all that happens is basically we just grabbed two tables, like in a V shape, sat down, and just hoped people would turn up. And really, most people surrounded Paul Grogan for obvious reasons. A few people came to see me, which was great. A couple for Slicker Drips, and nothing for everybody else. It just felt a little bit, it felt a little bit unfair for those people. But even then, I only saw a few people. It's not like I was constantly, having loads of people turn up. So I'm in two minds as to whether the meet and greet event is actually worthwhile. Maybe next year, because I'll be demoing, I might give it a miss. But yeah, it was kind of like worth a try, but I don't know if it's something I'm going to necessarily bother to stick with. I mean, by the time we got to that point on Saturday, I was low on water, I was knackered from going around a convention, I'd done loads of meetings and my voice was gone. I mean, by the end of the night, my voice sounded worse than it is now by far. It was hard to get through that meet and greet just because I was thoroughly wasted at that point. So, hit and miss. Otherwise though, the meetings all went well, met a lot of cool publishers, got a bunch of games, review copies and of course my own purchases. And yeah, it's quite a bit of a mountain there. You can see the photos with the haul that I have on my table. Now, I'm just going to go very briefly over the reasons why I grabbed certain games, tell you a story or two about, the calamities of trying to get them, and I'll sort of mention which ones are kind of in the works for reviews, shall we say. I mean, all of them, hopefully, I'll get to review at some point, but bear this in mind. There's a lot of games there. There's a lot to cover. The speed reviews that I do now are probably the only reason I'll be able to get through a lot of that stuff. But on top of that, there's also the factor of that I'm not around for most of December. December the 7th, I head away to the Arctic for a 2-week cruise, and then it's Christmas. So all my content has to be done pre-cruise, or like I have to set it so that it's airing while I'm on the cruise. So I gotta be a little bit faster with the content this time round, and I've still got to recover from COVID. So my time is kind of squished in a little bit. So we're gonna have to see what reviews I can do as speed, which ones I can do as proper, or how much I can get done before Christmas. It's gonna be a bit of a mission, but I'll do my very best. So, underneath this table, you will not necessarily be able to see, but hang on, maybe if I move the sleeves a little bit. Here we go, come on, here we go. You'll see remnants of Unconscious Mind. Yes, Unconscious Mind is currently in the process of being tested out. I've got to learn the rules to it again, and I'm playing for it solo, so that's on the agenda for today. But yeah, certainly a bit of a mission to get through all the rules, but I got the deluxe all-in set, so I've got all the expansions and everything, although my first impression is that really the game doesn't desperately need expansions. I mean, this is typical Kickstarter syndrome. Here's this mammoth game, and here's a bunch of modules immediately. Here's a bunch of expansions. We haven't even tested the game, but here's some expansions. It's like, Yeah, I'm not expecting the expansions to really win me over that much, but it's easy to store in here. They've got storage guides on the side, which is pretty cool, and that one is definitely going to get a full review at some stage, hopefully in the near future. But yeah, a bunch of other games here. I'm going to try and grab a bunch off and see what I can briefly say. So what have we got here? We've got, and not every single game on here I can guarantee will get a review, okay? I'll certainly at least talk about it, maybe on a podcast or something, but it's going to be tricky to get through everything. The Game of Tarot. This is a tiny little traditional game from Yellow. I went to the Yellow booth and basically we got a little, shall we say, tour of their booth showing case what they've got planned for the future and what they're sort of planning to do. And one of the things they're doing is that they're basically repackaging a bunch of random games from across the world. So a couple of Japanese, an Italian one, this French one, and these are just classic games reimagined with a nice art look and for a new audience. So I was allowed to take one home. I forget what the Japanese ones were called. But they didn't necessarily grab me, and well, I mean, I've got enough Japanese games anyway. But this one was the Game of Tarot. I used to own a tarot deck. In fact, I probably still have that tarot deck in the other room, but it's been a long time since I actually tried to do any self-reading. But I've always been interested in tarot, like its origins and how the different suits and how the different cards have their meanings. I mean, it's kind of, maybe it's one of the reasons I love Dixit so much, because of the whole interpretation of art. But this is basically the original French tarot. Maybe it's been tweaked slightly, I don't know, but it's got a lot of rules. I hear that French tarot is not the easiest game to learn, but I'm curious to see if this is any good. Coney. Yep, a game that people have asked me to review. This is a game about being a rabbit farmer. So tableau building game, card abilities, fairly simple, fairly light, very beautiful artwork of lovely little cute rabbits. Little Rocket Games. I didn't look at full, their 2-player only one, but I wanted to pick up this because it's been requested. I might have glanced by it other than the fact that it had a beautiful cover and about rabbits, so perhaps it certainly did catch my attention when I was looking through on Tabletop Together's tool, but this one's been requested by a few people. So, an Italian published game for, it does say Italy on the back, and a cute little game about rabbits. I'm down to see what it's like. Arctic. Ludonauts' only game they brought out this time. They've got a couple of interesting things on the woodwork, shall we say. They've got like a dual version of Living Forest due next year, which is going to be pretty sweet. Living Forest is on my shelf. Still think it's an amazing game. A 2-player only version of that I think actually could work quite well. And they've also got this game called Limit coming out soon. Hopefully she didn't mention anything about an embargo, so it should be alright. But basically, this is probably going to be one of their heaviest games they bring out. And it seems like it's one of those games where it's sort of Civ, it's modern day Civ. You're effectively trying to build up a modern day Civ with, industry and economy and stuff like that. And while also trying to be slightly environmentally friendly. And it's got the looks of a slightly meaty tableau builder. With a Civ feeling. It's like, okay, this is going to be different. And like I say, there wasn't much to showcase, but have a look out for that next year. But this was the main one they had, Arctic. This is a very simple card game. It's all in French on the back, but I've got English rules inside, so it's not too bad. But this one just looked like a nice simple card game. You're trying to collect sets of animals, but there's some cool, quirky rules about where depending on what animals are on the top of a deck or which ones you have, dictate how many you draw, how many you can pick from and stuff. They've all got different abilities you can trigger. And it's got the, I forget which game used to have it. Somebody will correct me in the comments. It was a Euro game where it was the rats one. Ratus. Yes, Ratus, that was it. I think that was it. Yeah, where you basically controlled areas in a Euro game and you got character abilities, but you held on to the ability for as long as it took before someone else nicked it off you. Similar here, you can have abilities to help you get your cards you want, but you could have as many abilities as you like until somebody else nicks them off you. Looks simple, filler length, 10 minutes a player, so like 30-40 minutes for a complete card game. I was interested to see it, but this is the only thing Ludonaut had this year compared to some of these bigger box releases that they had. So I'm down for nice and simple. Right, AEG. Cool, blimey, AEG gave me a lot this year. Nocturne. Now, Nocturne, I've actually done some first impressions of the solo mode on Facebook and Instagram yesterday. So I have actually played this, but just not multiplayer yet. So this one will come fairly soon in the review pile, I suspect. But this one's an interesting one. I mean, the theme is pasted on. Fox, mystics, casting spells, whatever. Beth Sorbel's artwork, mostly wasted. It doesn't really come through on the tiles. So you've just got the box cover and some character cards. But it's a cool little system. You've got a grid of tiles, all with different scoring opportunities. So some are set collections, some are set points, some of them require you to get the majority compared to players, that kind of thing, and some have special effects. But the idea is that you're effectively doing kind of like a bidding thing on this grid, where you bid for a particular tile, and somebody can outbid you, but they have to place their bid adjacent to you on the grid. So it kind of like, you know, veers off. And eventually somebody's going to win the tile, but those who don't win get to potentially go on this secondary board for potential tiles later. So there's actually a good thing about winning, but also a good thing about losing. And in between the two rounds, you can actually get very powerful spell tokens, value-wise, if you've left some of yours behind. So there's kind of like a few little nifty catch-up mechanisms. It's flat out in comparison with AEG, so it's got the same kind of solo scenarios, you know, that you can do with Cascadia. I was quite impressed by this so far. So far, good impressions. But we'll see if I continue that when we get into multiplayer. Right, can I physically fit all these on the board? I'm not entirely sure. Oh, keep the throat up. What's another one we got? Waffle Time. Waffle Time, yep, I played this yesterday. So this one actually could get a speed review. Annoyingly, I thought this was a 2024 release. It's actually a 23 release, so this isn't even eligible for this year's like top 10. It's fine. It's a pattern building game. So I think Forever Home by Birdwood Games, you know, the one with the dogs. This one, you're building up a waffle, you're putting toppings on it, you draft it from a board, and you have to, you know, arrange them in certain patterns. It's neat. It's very light, very easy to learn, very quick to play. It's a nice little family game with a theme that's just colourful and makes you want waffles. Not much else to say, but this will probably be a speed review in the near future. Alright, let's put them down here. We've got here a couple of from Emperor S4. There's a few I got from Emperor S4. Shadow House the Code. So this is a 15-minute deduction game. Other than that, don't know much about it, but 15-minute deduction game. I'm down for something like that. Midsummer Night's Dream. This is a weird one. It's not even... It was at their booth, but it says Ice Rain as the game design, and the publisher is Ice Rain Games. Maybe it was like a third-party thing they had. Based off the Shakespearean play, that's going to be so pasted on, you're not going to be like unreal, but I don't know, quirky card game from Asia. You know, when it comes to quirky card games, Asia are certainly one of the top contenders for it, so I don't know anything about it, but this will be as quick a review as you can probably get. Alright, let's see, what else we got? Some Earth playmats. Yeah, I did grab some Earth playmats. I did wanted to spice up my copy of Earth, but yeah, whatever, they're just playmats. Okay, then we got a couple of interesting ones here. Also AEG. I pretty much cleared out their stock, frankly. Although, sorry AEG. Sorry Helena. I'm usually very good with my appointments, but for some reason I got it wrong and I turned up half an hour late. Whoops. Luckily, she was very nice to still meet with me for a few minutes and pass me the review copies, but sorry. My bad. That is why you fail. But yeah, these two I'm keen to get more into. Now, I've already played Undergrove and given some first impressions of it. I think I've done it on the podcast already. And I'm curious to try this one out some more, solo and multiplayer. It's just my friends have it. So I played their copy first. And I think this is now starting to get a retail release, actually. Building up mushrooms, cool combos, you know, area control on the map, triggering the different abilities of the mushrooms in order to get resources. Very tight, very easy to put yourself in a corner. I've got thoughts, both good and bad about it, but I need to play it some more. This one probably won't take too long to get back to the table, because A, my friends like it, so we play this alongside Earth quite a bit. And I won't take too long to get to the solo mode. So yeah, this one we'll get to in time. Let's take another swig. This might have to be a bit of a weird video because of obviously recovering from COVID. Now this one. Oh boy, am I intrigued for this one. Everybody has told me about this game and I have still never played it. Let's go to Japan. I like Tokaido, that whole theme of just going across a road and visiting stuff. You know, that sounds cool. This looks to me to give me a similar kind of feel, just with a bit more complexity. It's got various little mini expansions in it. I'm trying to show actually, because I haven't actually unboxed it all. What have we got here? So we got this, which I think looks like best day trips in Japan. And then this passport expansion. God knows what these mean. I mean, little mini expansions don't necessarily wow me at first, but I have yet to play the game. But this is definitely on my top of my pile in terms of, right, which ones... I've still got to learn the rules to most of these. But this one, probably will follow shortly after Unconscious Mind, actually, because I am really keen to see what this game is like. Everybody has been talking about this. There's a lot of people that like it. I want to find out more. So now is the time when I can do a proper review of Let's Go to Japan. I would certainly like to go to Japan. Alright, what else we got here? Let's grab another few. Oi. Oh god, there we go. Bunch of games here. Oi, Empress 4. Very excited to try this one out. This is Kimono Memories. Now, I didn't even know this game existed beforehand, but what gets me excited about this one is, firstly, 1 to 2 players, so solo and 2 player if necessary. 20 minutes, short, and Empress 4, but here's the real kicker. Hanamakoji series. Yes! Hanamakoji, I haven't talked about that game for a while, it's still on my shelf. That is one of the best 2-player card games in existence. It is easily in my top 10 for 2-player only games. So this one, being in the same series, certainly sounds pretty good. Geisha's Road came out with a bit more complexity. Very good game, but maybe a little bit too complex to get to the table easy. Hanamakoji is an easy one that I can teach to anybody. This one looks like it's going to sit kind of in the middle as a kind of tug of war, again, between the 2 players. An even mix of strategy interaction with not that much luck. And, you know, it's again, I mean, last time it was geishas. I think in this case is it still geishas? As a budding photographer by the beauty of kimonos. Okay, so it's not quite geisha, but it's still basically women dressed up really nicely. And, you know, this looks like it's got a few cool little mechanics to basically build like a pyramid of cards, but how you get the cards is going to be very dependent on what your opponent does. You're trying to win favor, therefore, you know, it's a tug of war between you and the opponent, so you keep going back and forth until somebody wins out. I'm very keen to see if this is an evolution of Hanamakoji and see if this could fit somewhere in the middle. Like, not as complicated as Geisha's Road, not as simple as Hanamakoji, but as another one. But also, you can play it solo. If this is really solid and a good solo mode, this could be a big surprise hit. Alright. Lord of the Rings Duel. I got this recently after Essen, so Asmodee sent me this one. Dice Tower have already put up their review for it, and they are absolutely glowing over it with 9.5s, which basically means 10 because decimal systems is ridiculous. But yeah, I've played this. I played this at the Games Expo, so I already have opinions on this, but I need to play it some more. But first impression so far is basically kind of what you expect this to be. It's Seven Wonders Duel with a new paint job. That's basically the deal. It changes like how the red thing works. What used to be military is now kind of like a chase mechanic with the ring wraiths and the ring bearer. And then the point system is replaced by this area control thing where you're basically just knocking off each other's pieces to see who's got the most areas at the end. But that's kind of really the only differences, apart from the fact that it's Lord of the Rings pasted theme with Vincent Dutrait's artwork. So I suspect, and from my first impressions, it's still a really great game. Like, excellent, like potential distinction level. But then the original was a 10 out of 10. It didn't need fixing. It still doesn't need fixing. It's still on my shelf with the first expansion. I didn't particularly like Agora and upgrades, and I still think it with Pantheon is one of the best 2-player experiences you can get. So is this one really necessary? Well, that's for me to find out. But yeah, shouldn't take too long to get this one to the table because there's a lot of interested parties for it. Alright, Galileo Galilei. I mean, I was just calling it Galileo, but apparently it's Galileo Galilei. Now this, and this one, and SETI, which is, I'm not going to get it out, but SETI is actually on my shelf. That one, I've played solo and multiplayer. SETI should probably be the first big review I get out. Okay? Because I've played it enough, I'm ready to review it, so I just need to get a voice back so I can do that. But the main reason I'm excited about SETI and these two in particular is because of the designer, Tomasz Holek. If I pronounce that wrong, I am sorry. But, you know, but basically, this guy is doing something incredibly ballsy here. He has 3 games coming out, and I've met the guy briefly. I met the guy briefly at the press event, really nice guy. He's got 3 games at Essen this year. All from different publishers, all different types of games, all different complexity weights.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
SETI, the sort of space searching for extraterrestrial intelligence game, is his heaviest of the 3 Czech game editions. This one looks to be kind of in the middle, sort of mid-weight, and this one was from, what was it, Pink Troubadour Games. I'm not sure what the... it's got a picture of a horn, so I'm guessing I think that's an instrument of some description, but this one I've heard good things about. So it'll be good to see how this one turns out. And then we've got Tea Garden. Tea Gardens from Albi Games, and there's a bit of a story about trying to get hold of this one, but this one was a bit of a nightmare to, acquire, but I did manage to acquire it in the end. And this is the lightweight game that he has. Not quite gateway level, but, a lighter game. So we've got heavy, medium, light. 3 very different games, different publishers, same designer. If you can pull off a free for free, then, wow, that deserves some credit. This could be an up-and-coming designer that we need to focus on for the next few years, because he hasn't done stuff beforehand. So, could this be the year that he suddenly comes out of the woodwork and it's like, I am here, now look at me? I hope so. I hope these games are good, because let's face it, it's the same designers most of the time each year, isn't it? I'd like to see some new faces, some new kids on the block. So, could this be his year? We'll see. But... Galileo we'll get to soon. Let me take a drink because my throat is really going. There we go. So, these two, I don't know much about Atolli. You're building up a tableau display of coral reefs and fishes and stuff like that. This one, I literally just grabbed because I had some spare euros and I figured why not. But this one, called Blimey. I feel sorry for the people that are on the stand. They must have got sick of me by this, because they only released pre-orders for this. That was it. Missed the pre-order, and next year I think I actually might do more pre-ordering, actually. Usually I don't bother because I'm like, well, what will I get as a review copy? Now I actually might do more pre-orders. But this one was only being sold at pre-order level, so you couldn't buy it normally. I kept going back to check whether they'd finished with the pre-orders. And I got similar responses, and I feel so sorry for the guy who must have got sick and tired of seeing my face all the time. But we eventually got to a point, with a little bit of assistance from Paul when he grabbed his copy and that we finally realised that they were going to release any copies that they had left to the public just before 12 o'clock on the Sunday. So I had to be patient. And this was the one game at the very end that I still needed. I'd grabbed all the other games I needed, didn't need to buy anything else. But this one was the one that I was desperate to get, because obviously I wanted to do a free review of all of Tomas's games. To have one missing, and which isn't going to get a retail release in the UK for some considerable time, because I don't think they even have a distributor yet, it would have been really problematic. Now, I've actually got contacts at Albi that I need to talk to now, so next year if they release a game I should be able to get a review copy next time. But obviously I've got to build relationships. That's what Essen is good for, because Albi previously I didn't really know anything about. But call blimey, kept going back, had to leave my Civolution demo slightly early to make sure I could get here for the 12 o'clock, got in the queue, I could see the game, they didn't have many left, they were dwindling, got the copy, and it was like, thank you. And this isn't a review copy. I'm going to review it because I want to review it, but I still paid my own money for this. I still, Patreon support allowed me to get this. I decided out of my own pocket that, you know what, you've been great sports, you've been putting up with me, constantly coming back at you, I know you're sick and tired of me, I'll buy this one as well. So I basically bought these 2 games, and hopefully I'll get a chance to review this one as well. I'm definitely reviewing this, but, just thanks for putting up with me, and thanks for, giving me the chance to actually grab a copy of this, because I really did want to do a free for this designer. I didn't want to miss out, and so this one I'm definitely going to try and get played ASAP. This is definitely high on that review pile. We'll see whether this is any good as well, but this, called blimey, this was popular. I mean, people queued up to get their pre-orders for ages, and we're trying to get into the only demo table. So, yeah, bit of a fun story about that. It's not often that I'm in that position where I'm like, got to turn up early, got to get into this. I mean, I do that sometimes with demos. I had to do that with, well, we'll talk about some of those later. But yeah, yeah, thank you for putting up with a bit of a fanboy being annoying for this one. sorry. 4 games here. Asian Tigers. They actually didn't necessarily give this out as a proper review copy. It is a review copy, but they did a 50% discount for it. I'm cool with that, honestly. If you're a small publisher and you need to make money, obviously Essen is expensive, and you want to just do a 50% discount for your game, so that we're giving you some money, I'm cool with that. I mean, I do that for other small publishers. I did it for Birdwood Games, actually. They gave me a review copy of the Forever Home, as well as the expansion to Dog Park, and I thought, you're a small publisher, it's just literally you two, and I'm willing to give you some money. So I bought all the other mini expansions for Dog Park. I decided I'd talk about them as well. Give them some money. Give them something to justify their booth there. So This one I'm more intrigued by just because of the cock-up I made when I was actually thinking, what is this game about? I made a massive deal about this, saying that this is when you should actually look at the cover of a game before you decide whether it's for you, because I just heard Asian tigers. So I didn't even see the cover, I just heard the words Asian tigers and thought, ooh, could this be an Asian animal themed game? Zoo? I like tigers, I like zoos. Asian tigers? I mean, it's a weird title, but you know what, I'm cool with it.
Oh, my dear doctor, you have been naive.
Goes to show I don't know anything about Asian economy, because that's not what Asian tigers means in the economy world. Yeah, you know, look it up on Wikipedia, but basically this is a very economically heavy driven game with aesthetics that I swear the person was allergic to colour. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see if this is any good as an economy game, but blimey, was it a bit of a gear shift from what I thought it was going to be to what this actually looks like it's going to be. But we shall see. It's not the highest on the priority, but somebody at HandyCon might be teaching me this game because they've already played it. So I might wait till HandyCon at the end of this month to get this one played, but I am very, very curious. And it's not to say that I hate economy games. I do like some economy games, but they do have to work a little bit harder to win me over sometimes. So we'll see whether having an Asian economy game, rather than boring 19th century industrial revolution type economy games, which you do bore the hell out of me, whether this change of setting could be something that draws me in. But yeah, I am just more curious than anything about this one. Right, let's put that down there. Station to Station. I don't know anything about its mechanics. As far as I'm aware, it's collect goods, pick up and deliver with trains. So why have I got a train game? Because it looks light, it's got Johnny Pack as a designer, who's got some pedigree, Alley Cat Games, they tend to do some interesting stuff, and I just want to kind of see what it's like. I mean, it's 90 minutes, 2 to 4 players, so it doesn't look too complicated, and maybe a simple pick up and deliver game could be something that's up my street. You know, I don't like the stupidly heavy train games. Like, I mean, you will not get me to play Imperial Steam ever again. That game can go rot in hell. This one might be just maybe it could be on the same level as something like Spike. You know, a pick up and deliver game that's very simple. I like that game fine. So maybe this will be a step up in complexity, but other than that, I don't really know jack about this game. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what this one delivers. Kraftwagen. Now, I hopefully will be getting some other... This one I actually bought out of my own cash, although I'm hoping that I'll get some of the other Arcane Wonders stuff after the fact. Had a good chat with them, had a good chat, built up some relations, but this Arcane Wonders have got this weird thing where they only offer last year's catalogue to reviewers, not the current year catalogue, which doesn't really make sense. Surely you want reviewers to talk great about your new stuff. Why are you giving them the old stuff that they've already got and played and reviewed? That doesn't make any sense.
It's stupid! It's stupid!
This one I bought because I actually really want to try this. I've never played the normal Kraftwagen or whatever, the original. I forget who published it, but I never got a chance to play the original. So to have a nicer looking, possibly slightly streamlined version of it, by with the same rules and the same deal of making cars and selling them, it's a theme I really like. I like cars, so I'm fine with antique classic cars. So this one I think is going to be quite a cool one for me. Now it is set in America, rather than I think the other one, which was set in Europe, so that might be a little bit annoying. I only know so much about classic cars, least of all like American specific ones, but that aside, this one looks like it could be a fun mid-weight Euro game. It says 75 minutes, I'm going to guess it's more about 90 to 2 hours, but yeah, I'm down for something that fits kind of in the middle between Automania, which is light for cars, and Kanban, which is heavy for cars. Midweight for cars, I'm certainly down for. So this one is purely under my curiosity. So hopefully we can get that to the table at some point. And yes, oh blimey, you had to make sure you got this early because it did sell out. Black Forest, and yes, an English copy. They ran out of those ones. Took a while to unbox it, it's quite a lot of cardboard in here, but I played this at the Games Expo in its sort of almost final form, and really enjoyed it. I had reservations about how much AP it could generate, but the game itself is really good fun and solid. So this one shouldn't take too long to get back to the table with multiplayer, because I already have some interested parties for this. We have some Uwe Rosenberg fans amongst us. But yeah, I'm keen to get into this one solo again. This was just a really good, fun game, and it's not just Uri Rosenberg, Tito Lorenz is also on here, so it's a dual design game. But yeah, I've already given some impressions about this. Check out my review podcast videos I did on the Games Expo for more details. But I enjoyed it the first time, so hopefully it can still retain that level of enjoyment. Alright, what else we got? The last pile, right? Last pile, here we go. Oh, yeah. Mostly small stuff. Here we go. Oh. So like I said, I cleared out AEG's lot. They also gave me the 2 Roland rights for Cascadia. Not the first thing I was desperate for, you know, Roland rights are kind of wading out for me, but you know what? They look nice, they'll be simple, they'll be easy to learn, hopefully easy to play. I'm down to see just what the deal is with these. Are they the exact same game, but with a different, like, you know, palette? Is it literally just that, do you like stream artwork or desert artwork? I mean, in which case, well, hill artwork, in which case I'll take streams and alpine mountains any day of the week. But yeah, interested to see what these ones are like, so these ones shouldn't take too long to get a speed review out for. Right, another swig. Whew. I'm coping. This will be the only video I record today, I can tell you that. Chronologic. I don't know if I'll be reviewing this one. I bought this mainly because I played it at the Games Expo. Already quite liked it. It's a very simple deduction game where you're trying to basically, you've got one character who got murdered and you're trying to work out in the sequence of events at which point on this map did that guy turn up in a place where he was only with one other person, i.e. the person who killed him. And so based on the scenarios you get and the information you find, you're trying to sort of deduce the movements of all the characters as you go through the 6 hours of the night. Cool little game. I think they'll do more as time goes on. There's extra scenarios in here. So I think there's 3 scenarios in the box and they gave a bonus one. So variety might be a problem, but it's a very cheap game. And if they do more sets, it means there's more content. And hopefully they'll do more scenarios online, that kind of thing. Well, it says 3 scenarios, 15 investigations. So okay, it's not 3 and then you're done. It's 15 and you're done. That's pretty good value. But yeah, I already enjoyed this one. We'll see if I got time to do a quick review of that one. King of Tokyo Duel. Now, there wasn't a ton at the yellow booth that I was that interested in, at least not from their current catalogue. Their future stuff looked more interesting. They got one game coming out which is based on running a cinema and getting people in. It's like push your luck bag building. That one seems quite cool for a laugh. But yeah, I'm curious as to whether King of Tokyo can work as a 2-player game. I'm of the impression it doesn't suit a 2-player mode, but we shall see. 20 minutes, simple rules. Shouldn't take too long to get this one played and speed reviewed. Right, oh yes, well, actually I'll come back to this one. Let's quickly do Tori. This is the last one that I got from Emperor S4. And this is a 2-player head-to-head game where you're basically playing 2 different animal spirits that can't be in like the same space as each other. They keep sort of jumping over each other. But it's, you know, they basically like playing around. And it's, I don't know much about the rest of it. You basically always skip where your opponent's thing is. But it says on the back here, was it? No, it doesn't actually say much about the actual rules. It's just, it goes into some backstory about these animal spirits. But it seems that you're trying to basically build Torii buildings and lay tiles across this little map. But based on the ability of the animal spirits, you have to basically kind of do this weird tug-of-war movement between each other. Other than that, I don't really know much about it, but 2-player abstract games are typically pretty good for Emperor S4. This one sold out very quickly, so there's clearly a lot of people that are interested in this one. And I'm down for another 2-player abstract game, frankly. So, especially if it's got a cool theme with some nice, like, pretty spirits and stuff. So, we'll see about this one. So, finally, Drander Games, Explorers of Navoria. This one, you are exploring these different continents from these different tribes. And there's lots of different color cards that give you bonuses. And you're building up kind of like a little tableau of this. Very simple rules, a little bit of action selection. This one has the expansion in it. So, it's got, I forget what they called it. Forgotten Lands, that's it. So all of it's in here. This will get a full review, I suspect, actually. Well, I don't know, it depends. It'll be a full review or a speed review. It kind of depends on how much of the game is in the actual game. I suspect a full review, but it will also probably get a Beyond the Base Game video for the expansion as well. So I'll do 2 videos alongside each other either way. But yeah, I'm intrigued to get into this one because I played this during its development and had some, you know, pros and cons to say about it. They went away to test out the cons I suggested. It turned out the cons I suggested for balance issues weren't actually a problem. So great, you know, it's not like I was right. It was a case of saying, well, I have this concern, go and play test it. They went and play tested it and found that it wasn't a concern anymore. Great, perfect, at least you looked. But I'm definitely keen to get into the final game. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Love the art in this. Got the playmat as well, so it's going to look beautiful on the table. Yeah, this one, you know, for the amount of beauty it's got in a box only this big, I mean, there's a lot packed into it. It's quite a packed box by the end of the day. But yeah, keen to see how this final one does. It was very popular at the Essen as well. So, and it's not that complicated a game. I mean, 20 minutes a player, 2 to 4 players. It's got simple rules, but it looks like the expansion adds quite a few new cool stuff as well without adding too much complexity. So, yeah, this one's kind of mid-priority. There's a few that I want to try and get played first. This one's kind of in the middle. I do want to stick my head into it, but just might not be the most urgent one. Right. Cool. Wow. Oh, yes. Two more things. Two more things very quickly. So, whoop, come up. Out you come. That one. And everything's falling over. This. They're empty boxes because they're already packaged in the other boxes. Grab 2 expansions. I'll try and do some Beyond the Base Game videos with these if I can. This one might be a little bit tricky. This one definitely, because this one doesn't really add a ton. But these 2 games are fantastic. Veil of Eternity and Evenfall are great games. They are 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s. They are really solid games. In fact, Evenfall, I can't remember, did I give it an 8? If I give it an 8, I think I should be bumping it to a 9 because it's actually grown for me. And this one's definitely a 9 out of 10 for an engine builder. But these are 2 expansions, Artifacts and the Crystal Path. Both seem pretty cool. It doesn't look like they add much in the way of complexity, just more cool variety and a couple of extra little mechanics. They are in their games. I will do Beyond the Base Game videos for these if I can. So if you've got these 2 games, then you can look forward to me talking about these in more detail. So just to talk about a couple of demos that I did there, because I don't demo anything that I'm already going to get. It's kind of pointless. So this is for stuff that I haven't got or will get in the future. So I got to demo a couple of rounds of Andromeda's Edge. Yeah, that one was taught by Dark Dainty. They had to use a Frankenstein copy of the game because, sad for them, Customs mucked up their shipment. Yep, they didn't get their stock in for Essen. That sucks because that would have sold like hotcakes. Now, I do want to review this game, and I think we'll sort out getting a review copy after Essen. There's a few games like that. Minos from Board and Dice will arrive after the fact. Canopy Evergreen will arrive after the fact. So there are a few review games I'm getting later. So they will come.
When will then be now? Soon.
But Andromeda's Edge was decent. It intrigued me enough to want to try it some more. It does feel different enough from something like Dwellings of Eldervale. There's definitely some similarities, but most of the similarities are kind of Luke Laurie's calling cards. The whole, I recall stuff and I get to trigger stuff. Yeah, he does that in a lot of his games. It's not just Dwellings. So I'm intrigued to try this, see if this sci-fi feeling intrigues me more. I enjoyed the demo. I thought, okay, this is cool. I like these mechanics. These tracks are all different. It's definitely got a lot of thinkiness to it. I'm intrigued. I'm not like desperate, but you know, when I do get a copy of it, I do intend to review it. This might just be something I won't see until after Christmas, frankly, because obviously I need to get a copy of it and then spend time reviewing it. This might be a post-2024 title, but you know, that's why I do, actually, did I do a retrospective of last year? I'm not sure I have. Did I do a retrospective video of 2023? If not, I might need to get in on that, but yeah, we'll cross that bridge another time. But usually I do like to look back on some titles when I get past the year. What else was there? There was Dying Light. Glass Cannon Unplugged. This one, I've never played the video games, but I know the gist. You're parkouring over buildings and trying to get away from zombies. But this one was an interesting game. I mean, it had all the terrain set up, cardboard terrain buildings, and you control some characters. You can find weapons, you can find little story elements. You're trying to get past zombies, you can kill them or you can just run past them. But you're doing a lot of jumping and leaping across buildings. It's fine. It didn't blow my mind, but it certainly is like, okay, if you like the Dying Light games and you want a zombie game with a bit of a twist, then this one has it. You know, the mechanics we've seen before. with a co-op play and using dice for your actions, but having to be careful about how many dice you use and the ability to upgrade them, taking risk, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's some cool elements thrown in here, and it certainly does feel thematic to the games from what I can see. But yeah, this was a neat little demo. It didn't blow my mind, but it was something that if you're really into Dying Light, might be worth checking out. But probably the main demo I got into, yes, I did play it, Civolution.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Yes, the Stefan Feld game that Paul Grogan won't shut up about. Yes, I actually wanted to try the game. I will try any game once, even if it's a designer or a publisher or something that I normally stay away from. So I had to leave it early because I had to go grab Tea Garden, because that was the one I left early, but I'd still played it for a good hour and 3/4. The teach took about an hour. I mean, Deep Print, seriously, if you're going to demo a big game like this, have a script and don't teach all the rules up front and then let people get on with it. I mean, seriously, that was a very poor way to handle your demos, but I digress. But yes, after the massive rules teach, which I'm positive I could get down to a much shorter time because you can group a lot of stuff together, I finally got to at least play a few action parts of the action phase of Era 1 of Civolution, and I actually, strangely enough, didn't dislike it. In fact, I actually kind of liked it. What? Not quite to the extent of, obviously, like Paul and some of the others going mad. You know, I have some reservations. I think the use of dice for action selection is a bit of a problem. In a game this long, with this many rules, you have a situation where you have to roll the dice for, like, to see what actions you can do. So it's like, well, if I need to do these actions and I don't roll the numbers, I have to use various ways to mitigate it, and if I have to do that, then I'm in a worse position than someone who doesn't have to do that. So to throw in that element of luck into what is essentially a 3-hour plus Euro game with a ton of rules seems a little bit weird. But the game itself is still pretty good fun, and I think the main reason is that it doesn't feel like a Feld game. You know, Kokopelli was another Feld game that I quite liked. That one didn't feel like a Feld game. This one also doesn't feel like Feld. If you just got me to play the game with no indication of who designed it, I would have thought it was somebody else. Maybe Feld is now starting to branch off a little bit, in which case, great. I think we are done with those dated cube-pushing dry Euros that he's done in the past. I think now we need to try something different, and if this is a new course correction, then I'm all down for it, because I did enjoy this one. You don't get a ton of Civ feeling for it. It is still dry-ish to some extent, but you have got a lot of action choices to do. You've got the cards with different effects that you can gun for. You've got, you know, area control and like production and stuff on the map. You've got the technology tracks you can go up. You've got goals you can aim for. There's a lot of variety in terms of what strategies you can go for, what resources you can get, what actions you can do, what actions you can upgrade, and things do feel fulfilling. Now, it does feel like you have to put in quite a lot of effort to be able to achieve anything. It certainly is a multi-step process to actually get anything done, but you treat it a little bit like Ark Nova. Like, you've got a bunch of short-term goals and they will hopefully lead to something great. Obviously, I would have to play it more to find out if I like playing a full 4-era version of the game, because that literally was just the teach and 1 era basically, but it's intrigued me enough. As I say, I enjoyed what I was seeing, and I would like to play a full game of it. If I get a chance to at HandyCon or GridCon, I will. But I don't know when it will get released in the UK. It was meant to be later this month, but they cocked up. Well, they didn't cock up. The manufacturers cocked up with not putting pieces in their copies and mixing up German and English, and it was a bit of a shambles. So I'm waiting for a UK release where it's all sorted. It might mean it now gets delayed, and so this one probably won't get reviewed until after Christmas. But I do want to try it. As I enjoyed what I saw of it. I think it does have potential to be a solid game, despite some of the reservations I have about having that many rules to deal with and having this much AP potential if you play it with 4 players. I mean, I can't see why I would ever want to play it with 4 players. You know, 2, I mean, it could be like Through the Ages where you only want to play it with 2 max, maybe 3, but 4 did seem like quite a lot to have to deal with. And the fact that you are using the dice and there is a luck aspect to it. So I have reservations. But still, I think it's solid enough that I want to try it some more. So we'll see about that in the future.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
And finally, there was a really nice demo I did of Lands of Evershade. This is the new story-driven game that's being done by Awakened Realms, and Paul Grogan and I got to do a private demo of one of the scenarios, I think like the second scenario with the publisher and designer there. So it was really cool to actually delve into this one, and I already love Tainted Grail, we both do. He likes ISS Vanguard more than I do, but I still thought from a story perspective and a theme perspective it was really cool. I just didn't particularly like the whole dice gameplay mechanic it had, but we do like their story-based games. Lands of Evershade is a new setting, brand new setting, a cool idea where everybody has to kind of live under protective like domes or under protective services because the sun has got to a point where if the sun hits you, you basically just burn alive. You cannot take direct sunlight. Interesting idea. And I mean, people aren't vampires, but the idea that you've got to live sort of in a darkish area and you've got to be mindful of where the sun's going to appear at any particular point is an interesting concept in itself. But we sat through and played through a demo, the two of us, co-op, and the story, story is still really cool, still really interesting. The voiceovers, they get voice actors to do some of the reading and stuff. Again, all great, so that stuff remains great. But this isn't a clone of Tainted Grail. There's a lot of variety with the character creation where you've got like a race, a class, and a profession. You kind of mix it up to your heart's content. The mechanics are cool. You do have dice for skill checks, but there's like a fate mechanic where if you do badly on some checks, you can actually try and get fate tokens to make future checks easier, which is quite cool. There's a bit of streamlining that's happened with regards to combat. The combat is very straightforward. They have card decks to represent how the AI operates based on what you're doing and what their behavior is like. But, you have sheets that you put next to each other. It's not quite a spiral-bound book. It's sheets that you put next to each other. And these sheets have like the maps and various things you can interact with and stuff. And it's all done to the point where all the info is kind of in front of you. You don't have to be checking a rule book all the time. How do these skills work? Tells you on the card, and when you use the skill, you flip it over, it might have a secondary effect while it's there, and you have to wait until your turn in the initiative order before it refreshes, but initiative chops and changes. So there are a lot of cool aspects to this game, and I really enjoyed my demo of it. We will probably be previewing it, both myself and Paul Grogan, so I'll be able to tell you a bit more when I've played through a solo scenario of it, but yeah. Just first impressions for now, really keen on this one. I think this could be, I've already sold all my Tainted Grail stuff because I've completed it all, so I didn't need to keep it all. But this one looks like to be another surefire hit for a story-based game. So if they can get the mechanics all sorted by then, we didn't have a lot of cons to say at the time, but obviously they're still developing it. But I think that this could be another story-driven hit for them. So I'm very keen to delve into it solo from the preview content, and I'll let you know my thoughts when I get to do that. So yeah, possible another one from them. Okay, screw continuity. I realised there was actually a couple of demos I forgot to talk about, so I'm just going to slot them in here after I've just been spending the last couple of hours playing some Unconscious Mind. But first off, I want to talk highly of Revenant. Revenant is from Mindclash Games. This is going to be a spin-off in the Voidfall universe that they did. And Voidfall, as I said, too much for me, too much faff, too much setup, too much for what the game is. This is what Voidfall should have been for me. This one is essentially what looks like a mid-weight game, or mid to heavy anyway, this is Mindclash, and you essentially have this scenario where the Voidborn are now spawning, all hell's breaking loose, you're in this mad pitch space battle with the Voidborn, and you're trying to save the ships of the various factions.
Careful, you idiot! I said across her nose, not up it!
But you're very picky as to which factions you want to save because the point scoring is based on who you're affiliated with. And that already is a good thematic setting. But the game itself is worker placement where the different spots actually move around the map because they are effectively the ships. The scoring for the different factions is going to chop and change based on how many actually survive. There's a lot of different actions to take. There's ways to upgrade your crew and your commanding officer and your various ships. And then on top of that, there's even a Battlestar Galactica jump drive mechanic where you basically teleport to another map and reset it to an extent. This game has a lot going on without being anywhere near as complicated or faffy as Voidfall was. This one has the same style of components, the same graphic design, tools, still artwork and all that lot, so it's got the good elements that I drew from Voidfall, but it is not going to take anywhere near as long to play, set up and teach, even though it is still a mid to heavy game. This one was really, really impressive, and I am definitely going to be keeping an eye out on this one because it, even from just playing a few rounds as a demo, it's impressed me. I think this one could be a surefire hit. Not so much on Restart. Restart is a demo from the same publishers, Teetotum Studios, who did Age of Rome. Now, Age of Rome, I thought was above average. It had an interesting premise. Like, they tried something new, and it was cool, but it just wasn't executed as well as it could have. Well, Restart is a card engine builder, which has a time travel theme and a modular aspect. From the demo I've played though, that theme is not as strong as I thought it was going to be. Essentially, you have a card engine builder thing, like weird contraption in front of you, that you can load up with cards in order to generate some bonuses and different endgame scoring things. That is fine. That's a decent element of the game. You can customize how you're going to slot the cards into what bonuses you're going to get. You also have a grid system where you are trying to set up the cards in certain patterns and acquire certain cards and trigger their effects. That's all well and good. Then there's the modular aspect. There's a part of the game that is all based on which module you use. We used the introductory one, which is basically primarily a kind of luck-based one. You roll dice, and if you roll well, you can get points. That module was complete and utter garbage. Utter garbage. Now, there are other modules that they showed which have much less luck and a bit more skill involved. But these modules kind of then highlighted the fact that this game doesn't really have that strong a time travel theme. Whatever module you shove in, whether it's like, oh, now we're trying to sort out this political thing in this area, or now we're trying to save the environment in this area, and it's like, yeah, but it's basically just a mini game. It's an abstracted mini game that you play to score points in conjunction with the other stuff that you're doing. So the whole time travel thing is really kind of lost. The game itself is not bad, but I think this one is going to need a bit more development time to sort of hone itself in, particularly with that modular aspect. The core element of the game, I think, is okay, half decent. But those modules, especially that first introductory one, I mean, I really almost wanted to hate the game with that first module until it was explained that it was a module and that there was 3 others in the box. It's like, oh, right. Okay, so I'll just never play with that module ever again. Okay, fine. But I'm glad I found that information out because it would have been a much different view otherwise. But as I say, this one needs a little bit more time in the oven, I feel. It is still early days. And then finally, yes, Flow. I did finally get to try Flow from Pika Studio. Unfortunately, I can't really say much more about it because even after the demo, I can't remember for the life of heaven what the hell the game is about. This is one of the worst demos I sat through. And, look, it's not easy to demo a game, okay? It's a skill. But I think if you know if you have that skill or not, and if you don't have that skill, you might not want to demo games. Now, especially when English is not your first language, that is a hindrance. I'm totally okay with that. But even with this in mind, this demo was just done terribly. I mean, honestly, even by the end of the game, I still don't know what the context of the game is. Who are we? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? None of that was explained. The actual goal of the game, like what you actually do to win, was not explained until 10 minutes into the explanation. Literally, the demo went straight into mechanics. She just literally started talking about the movement costs of stuff like that to go across the ice flows and stuff. And I'm like, are we really seriously doing this? I could not believe what I was hearing. It's like, I don't know the context, I don't know who we are. All you've done is just gone straight into mechanics and you expect me to understand what any of the icons are, what's on my player board, what these cards are, what's this village bit over here, what's all this to do with, like, who the hell are we? Explain! And none of it was done. And the crazy thing was, we had like a German, two German girls and a guy. I think they came as a group. And I don't know if this is a common thing amongst Germans, but do you just basically only speak in victory points? Because, you know, I'm asking the questions kind of half sarcastically. I must admit, it was the end of Thursday and I was kind of done and I was like, you know, I was already a little bit brain dead, had somewhere to be, and also this demo was going really badly. But me and the guy were kind of on the same wavelength for like, yeah, we know this demo's being handled really badly, don't we? But for some reason the girls thought it was fine. I think mainly because the demoer pretty much spoke to them and not to us two. But you know, every time I ask the question, like, you know, so who are we and what are we doing? They tried to explain it, rather than the demoer, by basically quoting the mechanics again. And like the victory point requirement. It's like, I know what the victory requirement is. I know that this is the movement mechanic, which is still not explained that well. I still don't know exactly what the idea is of how far can you move and how many warm points it uses or whatever. But what are we doing? It's like, for God's sake, do they just not understand what theme and context is? I don't know, but yeah, I'd like to tell you more about flow, but honestly, after the demo, I know less about the game than when I went in, so I don't know what exactly to tell you. You know, this was more of a little fun little rant, but seriously, guys, if you're gonna do demos, do them properly, you know, and it's not just them. I mean, there were reports of other demos being done badly. I mentioned Civolution being done very poorly. I mean, for a game that complex, you're going to do 2 to 3 hour length demos with an hour of full frontal rules overhead teach. That is poor, absolutely poor. Long complex games should have scripted demos with a little bit of freeform afterwards. You know, Lufio did a good job at Games Expo for this. SETI did a great job as well. Scripted, then leave you on your own. Andromeda's Edge, Mark scripted our first round and then we were freeform to do a little bit afterwards. You know, complex games should be partially, if not fully, scripted demos and not last more than an hour. You don't need more than an hour to tell if you like a game or not. Civolution could have been done in an hour if you literally just scripted the first couple of rounds and let people get on. I don't need to know every single nook and cranny about the game before I start. I am only here to try the game out, not to win it with optimal efficiency. So, I don't know. I don't know why. It is a skill, it's hard to learn, but I don't know why this concept is lost on a lot of publishers who just don't seem to get that this is the way you should do long, complex demos, especially at a busy convention like Essen, and they still don't do it. What is your thought process on this? I want to know. Well, and I digress. But nevertheless, you know, still a fun convention, just the cream of the crop of the games was not quite there. Few little iffy sort of demo bits now and again, and obviously way too busy for what Essen needs to be, so a few things hurt it this year. But overall, still enjoy it, still go to it every year, still like to see people while I'm there, and obviously again, thank you if you said hi, shook my hand, just waved to me or whatever, it makes my day, seriously, it really does make my day. And yeah, there's not much else to say. I'm going to go off and edit this video and hopefully get some content start flowing onto the channel now, as well as hopefully nurse my throat a little bit. Ginger and honey and lemon tea does a pretty good job in combination with green tea. Yeah, I mean, mix all those things together and you get quite a nice little throat soothing combo. Not to mention I've also got a winter vegetable soup downstairs on the go, which is going to be very nice and healthy. So that's it for me on this episode of the Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then please thumb it up on YouTube. Let me know your comments down below. Did you attend? Any bits you like, dislike? Did you not attend? Any of the games that I've showcased are you looking forward to, particularly from the demos I did? And other than that, I'll see you on the next one. So take care. And remember, as always, regardless of you can attend a convention without catching COVID, it's still only a game. So bye for now.